My name is Josh Dobies. I run product marketing for a number of the products here at Riverbed. And I understand the theme of this particular Tech Field Day 15 is data center IT. So at Riverbed, we like to look at things a little bit differently. We're going to talk about the edge. And I think you'll see the connection as we go through the conversation. But there's a lot of interesting challenges that are happening in places where business gets done. And there's some strategies through the technology that we'll discuss today that allows you to basically treat the edge of a distributed organization, all those remote locations, and how you manage infrastructure, storage, servers, virtualization, networking, performance management, just as easily as you could if all of that was a centralized operation. And so that's how I think this is going to tie very nicely into the world of data center IT, is that we're going to talk about ways that you can extend all of the value of your data centers and really the hybrid cloud, both your on-premises, co-located data centers as well as public and private cloud environments, and extend all of that value out to the edge. So we've got a great cast of characters. I'll go through a bit of an introduction in terms of the agenda, and then we'll talk about the software-defined edge, especially from a storage, backup, and virtualization standpoint. We'll be joined by Parimal Puranik. Then we'll talk about the network that connects it all. We'll have Vivek Ganti, who's Senior Manager over in the Tech Marketing Group, as well as Javier Rodriguez, talk about the SD-WAN solution and demonstrate some new capabilities related to integrating how you manage security, network security at the edge, and some interesting integrations we've done with cloud security. We're going to extend further the conversation of that network all the way to the wireless edge, and Bruce Miller, VP of Product Management, will take you through that. And he's comes to us through an acquisition of a company called Xeris, which has some really interesting wireless technology. And then from the trenches, at the end, we'll have Bill Bragg. So here at Riverbed, we definitely eat our own dog food, drink our own wine, whichever way you want to look at it. But he's been going through and implementing that full stack to support Riverbed's locations. And so he'll come through and actually provide a case study that should be a good discussion of how this is put into practice. So in terms of just a brief introduction, right, I think pretty much every single presentation that is given today starts with something about cloud and mobility, changing everything. And certainly those are key trends that are going on. From our perspective, the key reality, the point about all this that makes it hard for IT organizations is that it's just wreaking havoc in terms of the complexity, particularly of the distributed enterprise. The rise of cloud has meant that for business locations that are not just connecting to their private data centers, but also into SaaS applications, infrastructure, the hybrid WAN has emerged, and that's created this entire movement around needing to software define how networks are deployed and managed. And then at the same time, they're getting hit on the other side by users and mobility, and that's going to get stretched even further. So for this session, we want to talk about what are strategies to help you manage IT here, right? There's a lot of conversations about the cloud, right? But business, people don't show up inside of Microsoft's co-location facilities in order to conduct and transact business, nor do they in your own private data centers. It happens here. It can be at retail shops, manufacturing plants, consulting services, natural resource exploration, out in the battlefield. These are places where you've got endpoints of compute, storage, networking that needs to be managed, right? And the more we become distributed, the more it becomes complex to do just that. So this session is going to be around these places where business gets done. Now, the complexity is hitting IT professionals on every single dimension. From an application standpoint, this is a recent study that we'll drill into a little bit from ESG that talked about what is the blend of applications that exists in a remote location. And we are seeing a blend. The networks are getting more complicated with traditional MPLS being augmented by a hybrid WAN, as well as the wireless edge. And then data. Still 50% of enterprises' intellectual property is sitting out in remote locations. right? So any strategy, especially with the risks to security breach, and hacking that we have today, any strategy that can centralize that information and streamline how that is managed can be really beneficial. This is just a double click on that survey from ESG that shows that we really are living in a hybrid world. If you're in the business of managing applications at the edge and these business locations, you do have to think about a good healthy percentage of them that are running in a data center but deployed over a wide area network. Roughly 25% of applications are still running locally, using compute and storage that need to be backed up and protected. And we see an increase in cloud, SaaS, and IaaS. And while these seem to be trends that are increasing, so the yellow is how much of those types of applications did the IT leaders surveyed here think they would have in the future. You can see that there's this rise in cloud, which makes a lot of sense. People want to put more stuff to the cloud. But the interesting thing is that cloud was meant to be this thing that was going to make everybody's lives easier, right? And I think it's a bait and switch in some ways that's happened in our industry. I mean, it's pervasive. Everybody is rushing to the cloud. And yet the IT leaders, when asked about managing IT in their business locations, has cloud made it more easy or has it made it harder? And across the board, 90% basically agree or strongly agree. And within the strongly agree, those that are further along the cloud adoption path have actually agree quite a bit more that it's harder to manage. And then as quickly as things have been moving into the core, we're seeing the pendulum swing to the edge again. So the rise of IoT and the need to do analytics at the edge to process that information before it's going to go to the cloud, I think we're going to see even more storage, compute, backup. And so the strategies that we're going to talk about today is how to make that complex picture feel a lot more like this. What if you could control everything about that remote environment in a central location? What if you could see all of the performance that was going on with these applications? What if you could literally take the data out of those remote locations, bring it into your core without compromising local availability or local performance? And that's something Parimal is going to talk about. One of the keys of IT solutions of today is that they have to be based on orchestration and policy. You'll see that across the board in our solutions. We have to get out of the world of configuring boxes because already we've got these distributed locations, and as IoT comes, it's just going to become completely untenable. And then lastly, having it, convergence is a beautiful thing. Did anybody go see the eclipse, by the way? Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, right?
That's a whole story.
Whole story?
That's a whole
It was amazing.
Yes.
Convergence is a beautiful thing, right?
The guy with the big camera in front of him, shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Did you take the camera up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, some good shots. Convergence is a beautiful thing. And the thing with Edge IT is that you don't want to think of every individual location as a bunch of discrete components. It's really about bringing IT all together. And so visibility, optimization, security, networks, data management, virtualization, all managed in the same way. So the Riverbed Application Performance Platform is about thinking about those converged sets of capabilities. We're going to talk about the edge, which is the top half of this diagram, to where a networking piece covers both SD-WAN and the wireless LAN, managed as one unified whole. And you'll see how that's starting to come together today. There's a piece that takes that SD-WAN and adds on and layers in the WAN optimization, which obviously Riverbed is well known for, with the Steelhead having a converged solution for both WAN op and SD-WAN. And then Steel Fusion is the thing that takes it even to the next level. It says for those local applications that need compute and storage and backup, what's a solution that we can use that doesn't just converge those things as discrete elements into one box, but actually transforms the way you manage it? And that's what Parimal is going to get into. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Parimal, and he's going to take us through the first part of this journey in terms of the software-defined edge with Steel Fusion.